It's KPN Report, and I'm your host, Maureen Aylward. Our topic is security at the Sawyer Free Library in Gloucester, and my guests are Deborah, Kelsey, the library director, Fran Aliberte, who's the vice president of the board of the Sawyer Free Library, and Larry Ingersol, who is the co-founder of Safeguard Blue, who's doing security at the library. So welcome to KPN Report.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for being here. Lots of folks I know have heard about the incident in October where there was a drug-related arrest at the library. And some folks might also have heard about the wonderful security that has been put in place with Larry's company. But Deborah, I would like to start with you because long before the incident in October of 2018, the library was really starting on a path to increase its security at the library. Could you talk to us a little bit about what you were doing before, maybe what prompted the need for this extra security?
Since I came to Gloucester 5 years ago, I felt that this has been the most important priority. And it was just very difficult to actually get enough energy around it to address it. But we started with redeploying staff differently, then we reconfigured the spaces for better sight lines, then we went through a whole series of training programs. The most interesting one was the author of the Black Belt librarian training, which was really about managing difficult behaviors. And then we had also written an emergency response manual and gone through basic first aid training. So we'd done what we could, and then we had consulted with the high-risk task force as to what else we could do, and most of those solutions were lock the doors or, try to diminish access, which was not really a reasonable response. So here we are with something that I think is much better.
So Fran, the board has been looking at security and this sort of expansion of security and safety in the library. And can you talk a little bit about the process that you went through when you were looking at expanding and making safety more of a priority at the library?
Yes, and I think one thing that Deborah talked about was the staff training and that incident in October. The way the staff was trained and the response of the person on the front desk using her intuition and experience as to, she had a bad feeling about this, or she thought something was a little bit off, and we had installed new cameras within the library, and she watched the individual go down and open the door and let the other person in and call the police immediately. And in fact, we were having a board meeting in the Fran room, which is less than 20 feet away, and the police did such a great job, we didn't even know what was going on until it happened till afterwards. But we were already in the process, and I really have to tip my hat to Fred Cowan, who kind of spearheaded this whole thing and dragged me in, kicking and screaming, to the whole process that the board had really, and we serve everybody. We can't be, it's not like a country club where you can just pick and choose who's a member. The library is open to everybody, whether you're young, old, homeless, have an addiction problem. So we've had incidences over the years, and it came time to what can we do to make everybody feel safe? And we want everybody that comes into the library to feel safe. And you can hire a private security company, but there's issues there with training and things like that. And Fred really started the ball rolling by talking to various people in the police department and the city. And we started a process with Larry, who wanted to start a company, which ended up being Safeguard Blue. And we went through, it was probably a year of getting it ready and talking and deciding what we wanted to do. And it really took a lot of effort and a lot of hours to get it going. It's not something you just do like that. You just drop the dime. Is all kinds of, this poor guy went through a lot, just getting his licenses and the bureaucracy that he had to go through. And, we had help along the way. We had a lot of help from Safathia, our mayor, who was really good, and the city council has been very supportive of what we've done. And it actually has worked out, I don't want to say, I think better than we expected. I mean, it's gotten a lot, it's really lightened up the whole mood at the library. There's been less issues. We had an issue with declining attendance at the library visits.
Was that because of the incident, the public notion of the, public awareness of what happened at the
Yes.
library?
Yeah, we had a drop of almost a third in visits, and now with Safeguard Blue, we're back to where we were. I'm actually hoping we're even improving. That would be would be our ultimate hope.
It's amazing. She writes a great report, by the way.
Thank you, Fran.
You're welcome. The thing is, if you look at the attendance figures and you see the month before, in January of 2019, and you look at February, they started on February 4th, 2019, and you see the month of February, it went from a double-digit decline to pretty much even with the previous year. So obviously, there's an effect there. And we've had less problems in the parking lot, which has always been a problem.
I can quote Larry. He's like, I didn't realize it was just going to be that we were here, and that was going to make enough of a difference. And in fact, it really has.
It did, yeah.
So Larry, this is a great story that you're a retired police officer, and the other people you have doing security with you at the library are also retired police officers.
Yep.
And this was started because of the library was interested in hiring some folks.
Right, there was no idea of this before. We were all happily retired and working road details and whatever else. And Fred went to the chief of police at the time, John McCarthy, and he inquired about hiring retired policemen for security at the library. And John told him, I can't do that on my end. And John mentioned it to his friend, who's retired, Ernie Curtis. And Ernie called me up, and the two of us started brainstorming the whole thing and looking into it and said, well, we have to form a corporation, we have to get insurance, we have to find people that will work. And it took a process. And during that time, we were working with Fred on what he wanted us to do in the library, also with the parking lot and everything else and stuff. And eventually, we got all the ducks in a row and everything came through, and we started in February, and everything has worked really well. Everybody's happy.
A second career for you, and as a businessman now.
Well, I can't
it's
make
great.
it as a professional golfer, so this is, I think the businessman will probably be the next best thing.
So, Larry, tell us about what you're doing at the library that has made such a difference.
Number one, just being there has made a difference. We walk around the whole day. We don't sit at a desk all day. We might sit there now and then to get off our feet, but the rest of the day we're up on the second floor, we're down on the first floor, we're down in the children's room, we're out into the parking lot. Now that the nice weather's here, we'll be out on the grounds and everything else. If we're out front, we'll be greeting people as they come in, same thing at the back. And the parking lot has been much improvement. Just the other day when I was working, I had some people tell me, 3 people actually, an elderly woman coming in the front door said that she was really glad that we were here and she felt a lot safer. And somebody coming in the back door was happy that whenever she comes to the library now, there's a parking space for her, because we've tightened up the parking into the lot, that people are just parking there that are using the library, not going into the Y or someplace else.
Mm-hmm. Parking is such an issue in Gloucester.
Well, yeah, it definitely is. And even inside, we played cribbage with some of the people, we played chess with some of the people and everything. Tony Parisi, one of our guys the other day, couldn't understand something in his phone, so he asked kids in the teen section, who knows about a phone? They solved the problem for him right away.
So it's just wonderful community, community security, community policing in some ways, but at the library it just sounds like this wonderful addition to the overall experience. And there's nothing taken away. Yeah. There's no, I mean, there's more of that sense of security,
There's
I guess,
been
right?
I mean, I haven't heard any negatives at all, only positives. And I think a lot of it has to do with the attitude of the people that Larry has recruited, Larry and Ernie have recruited to
We
work
cherry-picked.
for him.
We cherry-picked
I
who
would
we
say
wanted to
people are
work.
very accommodating to us, as any request is. is considered and responded to. And we really appreciate that. It's been so seamless and pleasant.
It's made life easier on the staff, which is we have a great staff at the library, and it's made life easier on them. They focus more on services to the patrons that come in. And it's just, we live on an island, and sometimes you get island mentality, and which is a good thing, I think. But Gloucester is not the only place with issues. It's a nationwide issue, but I think that we're one of the first who have actually addressed the problem head on and said, we have to do something.
We are one of the first in Massachusetts because that was one of the things that I had gone through, was looking at the extent of the incidents in our library and what was being done at public libraries in Massachusetts. And the answer was, no one's doing anything. And
So there was no research at all?
well,
There's-
and now we're gathering national statistics on this, in that we have 1 year of statistics now. So we are really leading the way, which is kind of unusual.
Exciting.
Pioneers.
But I was speaking with a colleague who's a library director who it is daily what she does is that is really what library administration does.
It's similar. So libraries across the state are encountering safety and security issues as
Right.
well, because they're open,
Right.
the public institutions, so they have to be open to the public except all.
And so our recourse is we either handle it ourselves or we have to call the police.
Right.
And none of us have really come up with a better answer than those things, except more training and trying to figure out how to be proactive about issues.
Well, it's also freed up the police that
Right.
if we have an incident, they don't have to send resources over to the library. So it's helped in a lot of other areas. They can put their resources elsewhere. And if you look around the country, we spend time in California. And whether you go to Santa Barbara, you go to Santa Monica, or you go wherever the larger cities are, there's an issue there. And I think Santa Barbara has security. I don't know about other libraries,
I think Boston does too. The
Yeah.
bigger
The
big
big
cities
cities
do
do.
now.
Or if anybody read Susan Orlean's book, Los Angeles Public Library spends $5 million on security. So when you look at this in the scheme of things, this is a very big financial outlay. It's really important because we have to make this as important as everything else that we do. And it's really nice not to have it be that the 15 staff people that are supposed to be delivering library services it's not their area of expertise. So it's very nice to rely on professionals.
And it's not out front. The thing is, it's not, when you walk into the library, it is not obvious that we have
Right.
security.
Right.
People aren't being searched. People are not
Yeah.
people are being welcomed by Larry and his group, as well as the library staff, and that's what we wanted.
Larry, what are you hearing from inside the library?
Nothing but compliments, inside, outside. Ernie, somebody mentioned to Ernie one day, and he says, for 30 years as a policeman, people didn't say thank you for doing a good job, and now people are thanking us for doing a good job. He says it took a little getting used to.
Why do you think that is?
Well, on which end of it?
Both.
Well, I mean, that gets into the police, the whole policing thing. But with the library is we're all approachable, we're all friendly, and we have to talk to somebody about a little rule violation. We just do it on the QT. We don't make a big deal about it, and everybody's been good with it. We've had no issues at all that needed the police or anything. A few people we've had to ask to leave. They've left without incident, and everything's been good.
Yeah, I have to say, I had this fear, oh my God, we're going to have the Gestapo in. And it was just like, their posture is very accessible. They're not confronting people. Everything is just more joyful and fun. I mean, there's more laughter in the library, there's more playing going on, and there's way less complaining.
And part of that was, like I said, we cherry-picked the people. We have four of us from Gloucester Police, all with between 30 and I think the one of them has 43 years of experience, and we have one from Rockport and one from Essex.
They make people feel comfortable, and that's the thing is, you can't. I mean, I think the bug that bugs a lot of us is that because somebody is homeless, they're automatically a problem, and that's not true. You know, so you can't judge people by their appearance or where they live or how much money they make. You know, everybody's pretty equal, and you know, I know I sound like Bernie Sanders, but you know, he has a point. You know, that you can't just assume that somebody's going to be a problem. You know, I mean, if you see
stereotyping.
you can't stereotype and
Right.
assume that somebody's going to be a problem. And I think that's what these guys do because of experience. And Larry said something in a meeting we had this morning about he just had a gut feeling about a person. His 30 plus years of experience kicked in as a police officer, and he knew that this was a person that needed help, and he helped her out.
So what about cost? Has this been a big outlay of cash for the Sawyer Free Library? And the city doesn't contribute to the payment.
Well, the city contributes to the library,
Right.
so you know the money becomes commingled. So you know if we take it out of our pot, then they put some in from their pot. So
We hope.
we hope.
No,
Are you
the
watching
city
this,
funds.
Safathia?
The city funds all of the staff positions and our materials budget and takes care of a lot of the facility needs. This was not something that they could shoulder in their budget. And we, in the current year budget, we did not ask for them to take this on. We have asked them to take on some other things. We'll see where that goes. But the trustees have, because it's a priority, the trustees are using their funds to do this.
It's a cooperative. It's a cooperative effort. You know, and it doesn't matter what the thing that you learn, and you know, it's Joe Grillo, who's our treasurer, always accuses Fred and I of being big spenders, and it's not about spending money; it's about investing money. So when you spend money in security cameras, or we did some new signage at the library to try to make it more attractive and more welcoming. That's an investment. So you got to look at it as you're spending your own money, which is the way we look at it. And and I think we've done a fairly good job of managing expenses. So you can't really look at it as, I mean, what's somebody's comfort worth? What's, you know, you get people coming in.
I think it's even bigger than that, frankly. I think that it means that we will not have anything terrible happen at our library.
One hopes.
Well, the likelihood is much reduced, and that's priceless. And we have an incredibly functional, successful public-private partnership with the city, and we don't want to push the city further than they can go, and we also can't push the trustees where they can't go. So it's a delicate balance at this point.
And it's always going to be a work in progress. When Fred met with us, he told us what he wanted us to be doing in the library, and we said, okay, fine. And he said, but you know, once you get in there, we're going to listen to your input on some changes, and also we may make other changes, and it's always going to be a work in progress being tweaked. And you wouldn't get that if you hired, I think, a private outside security company.
That was a no-no.
We were very, very accommodating to what the library's needs were, still keeping our needs, and it's worked out really well.
Tell me a little bit more about how you've accommodated those needs.
Well, one thing we picked up on, the parking lot was a big issue.
Right.
There was never any parking for people coming to the library. So what we did is, when we go out, we made notices that we put on the cars. If we see the person parking the car and go off towards the YMCA or something, we'll put a little note on their car. But also we keep track of who the car is, what time of day they were there and everything, so we can find repeat offenders. And I'd say since February, we probably put out, I'd say 150 notices. We've only had 5 repeat offenders, none more than 2 times, and none in the past, say, month month or so.
People are getting
They're
the
getting,
message.
the word's getting out, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
That's great.
because it's consistent. Every day there are people there that are taking care of things.
Right.
So it used to be that I would stand out there for a couple of hours freezing and resenting the whole thing. Or then the assistant director would be. Now I drive to work and I can park and I am met by a smiley person who says, "Hi, good morning. Somebody actually moved a traffic cone for me this morning." It's just a whole new world at
Wow,
the
that's
library.
Great. And you're there 59 hours.
We have somebody
that's the
there
total.
every hour the library is open.
And
which
it's
is
100% coverage.
100 from the moment that 8:30 to closing time.
No coffee break. That was the first thing that we that we talked
we're
about.
kind of
was
not good about that, but
we
no,
wanted the whole
no break.
We wanted
Continuous
somebody
coverage.
It's continuous.
Yeah.
So there's always
We
somebody
have our
there.
lunch on the premises. Everybody brings their lunch and stuff. So.
We try to feed them and make sure they're happy.
Give them a few little sweets, bring them a
See,
cup
I
of
wouldn't-
coffee.
I wouldn't give
That's
them anything.
why. That's
I wouldn't
why.
give them anything.
That's why they're thanked every day.
That's why.
You know, the funny thing is, we had talked about private security, and we nixed it in the beginning. And Fred said, "I want you to meet Larry and Ernie," and I call them Bert and Ernie. And it's kind of like the Bert and Ernie show. But we met at the Lone Gull, and so Fred left, and we talked for a while, and it was just like this feeling you get about, you know, if you judge, or you don't judge, but you get a good feeling about somebody and ask him off-the-wall questions that, you know, you try to always ask people to see if you can catch them off guard. And they hit all,
Yeah.
they hit it out
We
of the
knew what
park.
they wanted, and we gave them what they wanted.
And I have to say that Ernie and Larry met with both Beth and I repeatedly, and we went through exactly how we hoped that it would go. And they have not disappointed in any way.
Well, this seems to be a big game changer for the library.
It is.
And what is your hope moving forward? I know that, Larry, you just said it's, you know, a work in progress and
Right.
things will be tweaked along the way. But is it that bump in visitors? Is it just changing the culture of the library? Maybe that friendliness? It seems to me, and what I'm hearing is that there's been a shift.
Yeah, I mean, you know how Gloucester is. I mean, it's a great place to live. I wouldn't live anywhere else. You know, it's eclectic. It's got everything you want, from, you know, fishing to artist. You know, we're the oldest fishing port, the oldest artist colony. We have a lot of different things here, but I think that in terms of the library, we're valuable. One of the most valuable assets to the city. I mean, schools. You know, but as far as a cultural asset,
And an educational asset.
And an educational asset, and it's a place where, when in my former life, when we'd look to put in a new facility, we would always look at the library, because the library is usually in pretty much every city and town across the United States is last on the budget. It's the smallest part of the city's budget, and if you have a good library, it's a place you think about putting your business. So, from the standpoint of what we can offer to the city, besides the cultural and educational aspect of it, and a great place to go, is we can help the economic part of the city, the growth that we need to keep Gloucester going, and not only bringing businesses, but bringing people into town that are going to, you know, contribute to what the city of Gloucester means.
And letting people retool by how they define that. Because we're all reinventing ourselves, vocationally in particular. And that's what the library should be for. Which does get into, we are hoping to improve our physical facility. And that's our future, we hope. But meanwhile, what we're trying to do, the trustees and the staff and Larry's company, is make it as good as it can be as is.
I've seen a difference already, that it seems that people aren't just coming in, getting their book and leaving. More people seem to be staying, people coming in with their laptops and setting up at one of the tables by the window and spending a good amount of time in there doing whatever they do, and because it's a quieter place. And now they know that we're there, so there's less likely to be any kind of issues in there too.
More exciting things at the library ahead. And
I think so. We have some amazing collaborations coming, and I think, some really interesting community conversations and civic engagement pieces that will be part of the next year. We're kind of really excited. It feels as if a lot more is possible. And I'm not really sure what the ingredients are, but let's just enjoy it.
Well, Larry's
And-
the spice.
The more people that come in, the
Let's
happier
take
everybody
advantage
is.
of
Where
the
has my life
energy.
gone? Larry's the spice.
We have excellent new staff, and we have very exciting new collaborations.
Right, you
and
hired 4 new people? or
We
something?
did,
Yeah.
and everything is percolating. It
That's
takes time, but I really feel like things are
We're moving forward.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Well, thanks so much for being on Cape Ann Report, Deborah Kelsey, Fran Aliberte, and Larry Ingersol.
Thank you for having us.
It's an exciting time at the library, and I hope you get a bump in visitors as we're coming into the summer season, and all is well.
We invite everybody to come on down.
Indeed. That's all for Cape Ann Report. Thanks for watching.